Hi, this is Hernandez here with head coach ONeill asking a few questions about the upcoming Hatchet game against Garden City. What qualifications as a coach do you bring to the field to prepare your team for the game?
Hopefully I bring experience and the ability to lead young guys in a sport that I think is very important, to the high school setting.
What do you believe are the greatest strengths of your team to win this upcoming Hatchet game?
I think we have leadership through the senior class that knows how important the Hatchet game is, to our community. So the big thing is, that they believe that they can win, that they're going to go out and give us, full effort, and that is going to kind of trickle down to our underclassmen because we do play a lot of underclassmen.
What strategies will you be using during the game to keep the Red Demons motivated?
Well, the biggest thing is that you got to come in prepared. I think preparation ensures that the kids have confidence in what they're going to do, throughout the game. And with that confidence, play by play, the more success they have early, the higher their confidence level is going to grow.
Can you please share with us a specific philosophy that you use before a game, during a game, and after a game going against our biggest rival of the year?
I think going into the game, I think, the weekly practice plan has to be one that you're kind of setting up to give your team, the biggest opportunity to be successful. So during the weekends, our coaches and myself, we probably watch anywhere from about 2 to 6 hours of film, per game, and that is going to kind of grow throughout the week. Also, as far as we're looking for tendencies, by the other team that we can either capitalize on or to try to slow them down as far as what they're trying to do to be successful. As far as throughout the game, you got to kind of play it series by series. And kind of see, what's going on the field. What adjustments do we need to make on offense or defense to put our guys in a better position or better situation, to make sure that they understand, what their role is. After the game, it is a game on top of everything. It's people say battle, they say go to war, stuff like that, but that is not the case. It's a high school football game. So we got to put things in perspective. If you win the Hatchet game, you get to celebrate for about 48 hours. If you get beat in a Hatchet game, then you got about a year's suffering because you're going to hear from the other team.
What protocols do you follow to ensure the safety and health of your players in preparation for the big moment?
I think early in the season the biggest protocol is probably making sure they're hydrated. With the heat we've had in Western Kansas since basically about last April. I mean it's been a long 4 or 5 months as far as 95 to 100 degree weather. So protocol number one is to make sure our guys are hydrated enough so when they're in practice that they remain safe. Okay, after that, before we get into our full pads, I think our coaches do a really good job of teaching technique with blocking and tackling to make sure that we're trying to prevent and minimize as many injuries as possible. In a game of contact collisions, such as football, safety has to be one of your biggest items as far as in your priority list.
The last question I have for you is, can you take us through a practice a few nights before the game?
If you want to go to a Tuesday practice, Tuesday is kind of an offensive emphasis practice at the very beginning of practice. So we usually run our practices in 5 to 10 minute segments. And each of those segments kind of deals with a different, part of the game. Specialties are included there. Then with about an hour left in practice, and then it changes over towards the defensive side of the ball. And we kind of go in the same order. What do we need to do to line up correctly? What do their formations look like on, going against our defense? What is our assignment as far as, per player, per position? So, we kind of teach, the acronym of ART, alignment, responsibility, and technique. And that's kind of how our defense is kind of based on as far as, how we can be successful. From there, we give our guys a pretty good look at, what type of plays Garden City's going to run at us. And then we either need to make adjustments or feel like, we're in great position, to stop their offense.
Okay, thank you so much, Coach ONeill.
All right, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Now I'm with Coach Vose talking about the Hatchet game against Garden City. Can you please explain to us what your process is to prepare your team for such a big game like the Hatchet?
I try not to change too much. You don't want to put added pressure on the people. There's good pressure, negative pressure, and good pressure throughout the week is fine. So I don't try to change too many things up. Like Coach ONeill said, Saturday mornings we start going to work, and I try to evaluate the defensive game before, and then we use those mistakes to make ourselves better throughout the week. Monday's game plan day and formation day and alignment day, and then Tuesdays we try to get after it and try to put as much pressure on kids as we can, because they don't really know everything that they need to know. They just haven't had it, in front of them very much. But we try to speed things up and make them uncomfortable, so Wednesdays and Thursdays we can go back and then we can start playing fast for Friday.
What skills and knowledge do you think are most important for your players in this upcoming game?
In the hatchet game, we'll go over tendencies, and we'll get the other team's plays by watching film. And Coach Lowe does a good job of drawing up cards that we can use in practice. And we kind of prepare for their favorite things that they really like to do and try to get them, Garden City to get out of those things. You can't prepare for every play because there's always additions that they try to sneak in on you. But if we know what their favorite plays and their tendencies are, we're pretty good. And we always try to just get better at our fundamental skills as football players. We talk about all the time, good teams find ways to get better when they're successful. They just can't rely on what they've done in the past. So we're a pretty fundamental team. I try to keep things simple so we can play fast. So I don't give them a whole lot of skills. I let them be athletes, but the skills that we need for that week's game plan, we hit those pretty hard, so they're confident in those things on Friday.
If something ever goes sideways, like you have your plan set, but something just goes wrong, like what are your thoughts in that exact moment so that you can get things done?
We always have a plan B, and we always put stuff in our back pocket. When I get to talk to coaches throughout the week, Coach Lowe's good about bouncing ideas off me, and if they fit into what we're doing, we can get them in before. But there's a lot of times where you're not prepared for something, like I said, and then we can adjust on the fly. There's always something that you've learned from the past that you can teach on the fly, and it'll refresh the kid's memory. Last year during the hatchet game, we went in with a game plan that we thought was pretty solid, and it didn't work. And so at halftime, we had to go back to our plan B, and we come from behind and win that football game. And we really played really well on defense in the second half. So there's always back pockets and plan Bs, and coaches will make suggestions throughout the games, and then it's my job to teach that whole adjustment to the defense.
Do you think the communication with every coach is pretty strong?
I do. Coach Lowe knows how to handle me on a Friday night, so he's up in the box on the headphones. And then we have, I assign my staff, my defensive staff, duties on the sidelines. Each coach is responsible for coaching their position. Coach Fender usually has an iPad that we can look at defensively, and he runs around. If Coach Lowe sees something upstairs, we can watch it on film and show kids exactly what they're doing wrong, and they can fix it that way. My duties on Friday nights is I'm kind of in charge of everything down on the sideline, so I really have to rely on my coaches to be able to communicate with kids. And then if I need to step in, if a kid isn't listening or doing it correctly the first time, then that's usually when I step in and say, hey, this is what you have to do, and they do it.
And the last question, what are you most excited about for the game against the biggest rival for the Red Demons?
I get pretty excited for football games. I'm pretty passionate. I do like playing Garden. There's always going to be a lot of people there. This will be different this year because we're playing it, in Wichita, and I think there'll be a lot of people that don't usually get to come to football games, and it'll be a big environment, almost like a college, experience when you're talking about the stadium and things like that. I'm pretty excited for that because there's a lot of kids that won't get that atmosphere or that feeling, playing in a big game in a big stadium. They're coming to the end of some of their careers, and they won't get that. Some of them will, but I'm excited that all of our kids are going to get that experience of playing in a big game in a big stadium.
Now I'm here with Coach Lowe. What does the hatchet game mean to you?
It's a great rivalry. I have a lot of respect for Garden City and all their sports, and I think it's great for the communities. To have that rivalry whenever it's respectful like it like it's become. And I've got to coach in some great games. 2010, we were down 27-0, and then Rico Hogan returns a kickoff right before half, and we go in the locker room 27-7, and come out winning that game. I think 28-27, 29-27, something like that. But and then the win game where we had to complete a pass into 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts just to win the game a couple of years ago, and then of course last year's thriller. So it's just great excitement for the communities, and that's something that I really enjoy.
How would you describe your style in coaching?
With football, I'm different than I am with wrestling because I'm the head coach for wrestling, so I have to have a different role. And I think you just fit into your role with football, and that's one of the reasons why I like coaching football is I get to be a true assistant. So I get to interact with kids in a different way where I can be more relaxed, have fun, and then really just focus on what I like to do with football and analyze the game. So my role is different in football than it is with wrestling, and I think that's just kind of where I fit on staff. You have Coach ONeill, Coach Voth, Coach Colwell. They're kind of in charge of certain things, and then I get to be the guy kind of, giving them suggestions and more relaxed with the kids.
Do you think you have a very good relationship with each player as like a whole?
I do. You try to build relationships with all your student athletes, and one of the things about coaching is you always have to be honest with them. So they're making a mistake, whether it be on the field or in the classroom or out of school, you just have to be honest with them and try to make them grow. So sometimes they don't like that relationship, but I know that they respect it, and it might not be now, but the things you try to instill in them, come into play maybe later on in life. So yeah, I do have a good relationship with student athletes.
What skills and knowledge do you think are the most important for your players this upcoming hatchet?
Just remember it's football. Don't think big. We don't have to do anything special. We have to go in with, like what Coach ONeill said, our strengths and try to attack their weaknesses. And we just have to go in knowing that it's just a football game. It's not, we shouldn't put it on a bigger stage or anything like that when the game's actually being played. You still line up against the same people, and you're still doing your assignment, your responsibility, your technique, and just play football.
Thank you so much, Coach Lowe.
Thank you, Alexa.
I'm here with Coach Gutierrez. What does the hatchet mean to you?
To me, the hatchet has always been the biggest game of the season, so obviously it means a lot. Just being able to go out there with my teammates when I was a player, and then out there with my coaches and my players, it means the world to me.
What are some ways you prepare your players for the hatchet?
We approach it like it's any other game. We just make sure that they're fundamentally sound. We know our assignments going into the game. We really want to make sure that if there's any questions during the week leading up to it, we address it all. But when you go into it, we don't really handle it any different than any other game.
What skills and knowledge do you think are most important for your players in the upcoming hatchet?
They need to know that the moment's not too big for them, that when they're out on the field, they belong there. They don't need to see it as they don't need to see it as a different game than what they've been playing the weeks before or what they've grown up playing. It's still football. They just need to go out there and play the game like they know how to and have fun with it.
And the last question is, if during a game something doesn't go as planned, do you always have a backup plan, and how does that go through?
Yeah, definitely. We on the sideline, we don't freak out or stress, because if we let the players see that, then obviously you can pass on to them. So we handle everything, cool, calm, and collectedly, and we just do our best to communicate what we see. And then if we need to go to a backup plan, we know what it is, and the players know what it is too. So we're all comfortable if something does go wrong.
Okay, thank you so much, Coach.
Thank you.